from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock. He is my love, my fortress, my stronghold and my Savior, my shield, my place of refuge. Lord, what is man that you care for him? Mortal man that you keep him in mind? Man who is merely a breath, whose life fades like a passing shadow. Reach down and save us. Draw us from the mighty waters of the times. For I will sing you a new song. I will play on the harp to you who give us victory. So we pray. Lord God of strength, you gave your Son victory over death. Direct our fight against evil in the world and clothe us with the weapons of light, and unite us under the one banner of love, that we may receive our reward after the troubles of this earthly life. This is our prayer. Amen. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the Bridge 99 FM, 99.13579 on the FM dial. Also, live streaming, www.thebridge99fm.com. Wherever you are in the world, check us. It's a new deal in media penetration of the Jamaican spirit. Listening to the people at home, vibesing the music, upping the words, enunciating the principles, indicating the directions for happiness, for fulfillment, for possibility for all of our people, not just some. Not accepting the present situation at all. Too exclusive. Not enough inclusivity. Principles that we accept. The dignity of every human person. The need to fashion our institutions and our lives towards our personal preferences, but also and inseparably from the good of the majority. We defend the common good, the public interests. This is the Bridge. Pearnel Charles will join me later. He has a long and distinguished career of public service. No wonder we link. Two of us are very different. Look at us. Remember the past. Yes? And nonetheless, we can talk about the affairs of the nation. We can touch the nerves and listen to the heartbeat of the country. That's what the Bridge does in all of its various programs and activities throughout the day. Reaching out to Jamaicans everywhere, in the United States, in Canada, in England, wherever we are, lovers of Jamaica. More of those in the diaspora than on the rock itself. But the rock is the source of that inspiration. Therefore, we are embedded here, always reaching out, stretching as far as the Jamaican imagination can go. There we go. And so, join us. You can link the conversation. It's early in the day, but you can always feed us. We'll take your thoughts and your WhatsApps and messages when next we meet. The numbers are 876-676-4996. Yeah? And the WhatsApp number is 876-551-5782. Remember when we used to have a lineup down Cable and Wireless on Duke Street to make an international phone call? Remember when we used to have to pay only per money? Yes? To make such a call? Well, technology has changed that, you know. We're the recipients and beneficiaries of that. Yeah. So you can get in touch with us cheaply, easily. We'd be glad to hear from you at all times. The weather in Jamaica is good. Cloudy this morning where I am. Cloudy and cool, the Meteorological Service says. That's the weather, man. Yes. Cool with intermittent showers and possible thunderstorms across northern and southeastern parishes. Windy along the north coast. Partly cloudy and cool elsewhere. This afternoon will be cloudy with showers and possible isolated thunderstorms, mainly across sections of hilly areas and northern parishes. You're cold where you there? Come now. We welcome you now. And the weather nice here. Yes? So, it's the right time of year to visit if you can. Here's some news. Wage talks between the island's air traffic controllers and the government are expected to continue today after a meeting between the group and the Ministry of Labour yesterday. It didn't go well. Sorry about that, And the air traffic controllers can have a sore foot. I'm not. I'm very sympathetic with them. They have an very great responsibility to make sure that air traffic over into out of Jamaica is very safe, But why we can't just make proper arrangements for them so that they're happy? Every few months, maybe every year or so, you have this kind of thing where they can't get the right pay or the proper arrangements, and we start biting our nails because we don't know whether the plane can land. We don't know whether safety is going to be compromised or not. Well, it never is. Let's say that, no? But at the same time, we're not like this. So the controllers who have been calling in sick for weeks, when I like that, Yeah, I mean, this calling in sick business is a deceit. Yeah, if you're not sick, you must go work. If you want money, if you want your pay, if you want your job, you must go work. This business about say you're sick and you're not sick. Can't build a society in that. You can't tell your children that it's so they must live. Anyway, the controllers who have been calling in sick for weeks and whose action on Sunday caused the closure of the country's airspace and the cancellation of flights by two major carriers to Sangster Airport in Montego Bay say they are willing to issue a notice of industrial action if the impasse prolongs. What is that? No, sir. We don't like that at all. They are disputing a number of issues, they say, regarding wage claims and have described the Ministry of Finance as high-handed. Hey, the public have a say in this, and we are presuming to speak on their behalf this morning. We want to stop that. Yes, Ministry of Finance, if there's any intimation of your being high-handed, please just back down and say you're sorry and come let us talk it straight. And air traffic controllers, we value you, but there are limits, and you have to understand something about the nation, about the economy. But perhaps we'll talk about this later, because one of the problems is that when the public service negotiates as one, then the distinctions between function and their significance are all blurred. And therefore, whether you are doing a replaceable job or whether you are doing an essential job is the same money you're going to get, the same increment rather. Yes? And the only way it changes is if and when you have reclassification. I do not believe that's fair. There are some positions which require more skill, more hours, more input than others, and therefore need to be rewarded. This is a market economy. Okay? There are problems in that, but that is our reality, and therefore we have to, despite the inconvenience of having to negotiate many different levels and everyone saying, but you give him that, so why me must get less or different? Yes, I understand that. But this broad brush, which I think is what is at base of the problem here, can't continue. We have to be more subtle and more nuanced and more recognition of people's particular circumstances and needs in this regard. Yeah. Mr. Solomon of the air traffic controller says that a few of them have reported having flu-like symptoms and some have contracted COVID-19. Well, that's a different thing, eh? Okay. Here's good news. Scotiabank has announced that it will delay increasing the fees for using automated teller machines, that's the ATMs, and point-of-sale machines for 6 months. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Mrs. Tugwell Henry is a lady of distinction and sensitivity. She manages Scotia in Jamaica. So I'm pleased that the public, they're listening, yes? There's still plenty wrong with the relationship between the commercial banks and their customers, you see? But I'm glad that they have held back. What about the National Commercial Bank? The one that Ralston Hammond calls the Central Bank on Trafalgar Road. Yes, oddly. In a statement Monday, the bank said during the period it will continue its public education to ensure that customers are in the best account type and are accessing the most appropriate channels to minimize the fees they pay. I heard a surprising clip from Professor Denzel Williams, someone who I admire, on the television last night, where he's defending this and speaking about the many outgoings that the banks have to experience and how their profits, although they sound big, to us to us are really not making the kind of return on their assets that international banks do. Denzel, really? What about the capacity of the individuals who you're trying to get into the formal economy to pay? Well, you did say that they must try and work out packages for small customers. I don't think that's it. The whole question of the relationship, the structures of financing in Jamaica, brokered, factored by the commercial banks, needs careful discussion. Yes, and don't tell me about any market economy. Yes, the end or that objective does not justify the kind of predatory relations that most of us feel in relation to the banks here. And in any event, Scotiabank is correct. They have said they're going to use the time. I hope it's more than 6 months. But that is a concession for more public education as to how people can, in fact, hold on to their money rather than have you take it away. Scotiabank says it will be expanding its Scotia payroll account for customers earning under $100,000 per month. Well, that's most of us, That's the truth. Yeah, police, teacher, yes, soldier. According to Scotia, this account type has no minimum balance requirement and attracts no fees for Scotia ATMs or point-of-sale transactions. All right? And last week, NCB, National Commercial Bank, announced that it would be introducing an account type that does not attract fees. Let me tell you something. Once I had the opportunity to speak to a very high official in the Bank of Nova Scotia in Canada, their head office, and he said they are so glad for Jamaica's business, you see. Jamaica is one of the most profitable branches of Jamaica, big Bank of Nova Scotia, Yeah, we give them a whole heap of money. Am I wrong in saying that Jamaica's biggest export is not bauxite, it's not tourism, it's money? Yes, the way our economy is structured, it is extractive. We send most of our money away. The profits go. Okay? Oh, you say, well, what nonsense are you talking about, Ronnie Thwaites? If we make our investment, we have to get our return, What about, yes, sir, we understand that, But at the same time, the quantum, yes, is very, very significant to us. So we're no longer sending out big money in the form of sugar and coffee and even bauxite. So we're sending out money. You say that's the way of the world? Yeah. When you say that, you see a lot of people draw blank for their breakfast and their lunch, and then pick the car and go to school. Oh, but that's not your fault. No, it isn't. But it should be your concern, sir. All right? So let's see where we go. We're all in a difficulty, aren't we, regarding how to respond to the ongoing COVID. I'm reading where the United Kingdom, that's Britain, has scrapped plans to enforce an order for all National Health Service staff in England to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Some 60,000 frontline health workers were set to be dismissed if they weren't vaccinated with at least one dose by February the 3rd. And now this is a very interesting person. The Health Secretary, Mr. Sajid Javid, told members of Parliament on Monday it would endanger patient safety by triggering the loss of key personnel from the already understaffed health service. Quote, while vaccination remains our very best line of defense, I believe it's no longer proportionate to require vaccination as a condition of deployment by statute. Yeah? Okay, Mr. Javid, but let me tell you something, sir. I really don't think that I would like to be in a hospital dealing and being attended to by a person who was not vaccinated and who, by their care of me, might in fact infect me. How that go, Mr. Javid? How that go, Mr. Tufton? Yes, all of us in Jamaica. Whoa, we do all kind of things on the early rise, Here is a man who I have no time or no regard for, Mr. Cruz, who is a senator from Texas in the United States. He is being quoted on CNN this morning as saying that President Biden's statement that he's going to nominate a black woman judge to the United States Supreme Court is offensive. No, Mr. Cruz, you are offensive. Yes? You're a man, yes, who was tacitly and more than tacitly actively supporting the January 6th intervention. You're a man who ran off to Mexico with somebody who we know well in Jamaica. Yes? When your people were suffering from flood and distress some time ago. Yes? So when after centuries of being kept down, women, a black woman in America who is able as bright, no question asked, yes, to occupy the seat as a judge of the Supreme Court. That is offensive? No, sir. You are offensive. I can't tell the people what to do, but no, don't bother come here. Yeah, we have a different standard here. We're going farther than you. Take your racism and go away with it. You know, just one other thing. I see plenty of letters in the press this morning, and not only this morning, come from time to time, but the letters are anonymous. They say interesting things, but when you look and see who write it, yes, it's a endangered woman or petulant man or something like that. Yes, I immediately discard what they say, because look now, it goes to the heart of what we are in Jamaica, We are a free and responsible people. And if you have views that you want to express, and that's wonderful, that's good, that's an exercise of freedom, more people should do it. And if you feel that your views are so pertinent that you want to put it to the public in a newspaper, on radio, wherever, yes, then you must be prepared to stand up and say, I am so-and-so, yes? If you want to be taken seriously, particularly when you are criticizing whoever, yes, whether it's Andrew Holness or Michael Manley or any of us, then we want to know who you are. And don't tell me about how dangerous it is and how people might prejudice you or you might lose your work or something like that. Yes? Marcus Garvey said that we must have backbones, not wishbones. Yes? So I want to know who is the human person behind the views that are being put forward. Put forward why? With a view to persuading me to accept them. Yes? So the spirit of fear is not a Christian virtue, It's a Christian vice. Right? But then there is another side to it. So let's complete the circle. People who express their views should not be the subject to public traducing. Yes? It should be accepted, as we accept on the bridge, as we accept on the easy rise, the early rise, that you can have different views, but you don't lose respect for the person because they have different views from you. In fact, what you do is to try and find some accommodation between your views and their views. Yes, and work out something which is in the interest and the benefit and the edification of everyone concerned. And so that's very important for us to accept, it seems to me. I noticed that a respected newspaper columnist this morning, Glenn Tucker, teacher and sociologist, is commending the new Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Pearnel Charles Jr., for starting strong, and that's good. There's an element of what Glenn Tucker writes, that interests me, and that he's promoting rabbit culture. Yes, years ago when I went to Cuba, Cuba is a country I admire greatly because of the suffering that has been imposed upon them and because their desire for freedom. I couldn't live under their restricted freedoms, but I admire their steadfastness and their strength in the midst of great adversity. But what I noticed then, they were having a great problem of importing ingredients for chicken, for growing chicken, the corn and the soya, because of the American blockade. And what they did was they reserved the chicken for the tourists. Yes? But what you got was rabbit as a major protein of the country. And the rabbit was prepared in a variety of different ways. which was very helpful and very tasty. And rabbit, of course, is able to feed upon Spanish needle and periwinkle and all kind of different things, yes, which does not require this heavy content, imported content. So I'm interested in us looking at protein sources, and rabbit meat is a very high protein source. I'm looking at protein sources that we can feed from our own resources, from our own growth. Okay? Interestingly, I learned something a few years ago. I put it to the people of Jamaica and those listening to us elsewhere, that the Spanish hotels in Jamaica, they utilize rabbit meat, and they are able to prepare it in ways that are very acceptable to their guests, their foreign guests. So come we try it, no? Hey, Jamaicans are very fenke with food, you know. What name fenke? How you spell it? But we all know the meaning, don't we? Yes? And so therefore, I am suggesting that really, we should consider this as an alternative. So over to you, Mr. Charles. Boy, I'm going to end the session now and take the break, but the CNN is full again with Mr. Cruz calling Mr. Biden's promise to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. He's calling it offensive and insulting. Yes, what a racist. Yes, Mr. Biden is not nominating somebody on the basis of their race, you know, that they're not competent. These are people who are competent beyond as much as anybody else. Yes, but because they are black and woman, it's offensive and insulting. Yeah, that is repugnant. And to think that a man, wealthy, I believe he went Harvard and all them kind of stush universities that some of us went to, with some Jamaicans as well. I won't call the names. Yeah, I wanted to share those views. Repugnant and offensive. You're talking about yourself, Mr. Cruz. This is Early Rise. We don't skin up on this program. We talk it straight. When we come back, the Honorable Pearnel Charles joins us. Stay tuned to the Bridge 99. On the Early Rise, this is the Bridge 99. Good morning, Mr. Charles.
Good morning, Straight.
Thank you. Well, thanks. Thank you for joining us.
You look well.
Well, thank you.
And you're talking well.
Well, no, look at this. I'm anxious to engage you first on a matter I think you know something about. Here is a columnist in today's Daily Observer, Glenn Tucker, respected columnist, and his headline will interest you and cause you elation. He says, Minister Charles, referring to your son, yes, has hit the ground running.
Yes.
And one of the things he says, for me, the most exciting proposal by this new Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries is the search for alternative protein sources. Remember, this is in the context now of the question of chicken costs. Yes. May I take this opportunity to recommend rabbit meat? Rabbits can be raised, Mr. Tucker says, by children in limited space. It has the highest percentage of digestible proteins compared to other meat, while it has the lowest amount of fat. Despite the low amount of fat, rabbit is still rich in healthy fats like polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. Domesticated rabbit meat also has fewer calories than chicken and less cholesterol than any other commonly consumed meat like beef, pork, and chicken. Rabbit also has a higher concentration of most minerals, with the exception of salt, making rabbit even more appealing to people with high blood pressure. Rabbit manure is one of the best manures for organic gardening. It improves poor soil. I'm skipping on, and he goes on to say that we can use Spanish needle and other easily grown weeds in order to feed rabbits. He takes off on that. What do you know about that? So what do you think? You're a countryman.
Apparently, I can put Mr. Tucker to one of the boys who used to go to school those days, because in elementary school, we all had, there was at least one or two rabbit pens. And the fantastic thing about rabbits, they have plenty picnic one time.
Yes.
Follow me?
Yes.
and they're very easy to raise.
Uh-huh.
I am not sure that rabbit was eaten by every religion. I'm not sure. But I remember that it's a special way to kill a rabbit, which is not a happy way, because you give it a big lick in the head.
A blow in the head.
However...
But that's what 4-H taught you.
4-H club.
4-H club.
4-H club.
You were a member of 4-H club?
Oh, yes.
You had a tremendous opportunity that I, who would have been thought to have had a so-called better education, never had, because I was never exposed to that kind of thing, to my detriment.
Well, you see, we had to build a pen, and we had to go and get Spanish needle and the special grass that the rabbit eats.
Yeah.
And the male was called the buck.
Buck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
the female is a doe.
Yeah. And there was a special prize for making a special lunch.
Yeah.
On 4-H day.
Yeah.
It will be tested by outside people who come in.
I don't know if it. Well, I know Adventists don't eat meat, so they perhaps wouldn't partake in rabbits. But
we didn't raise rabbits.
We didn't raise rabbits. Okay.
I'm not sure whether it was because of the religion.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a rabbit pen. Most children had a rabbit pen.
Do you remember ever eating rabbit?
Yes. I've it. It's a little trashy.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Okay, but surely the dietitians and the nutritionists can make something. I was telling our listeners earlier that I went to Cuba many years ago, in the 70s, to do with the National Literacy Campaign. Danny Williams, myself, Mrs. Curlew, Lascelles Beckford of blessed memory. And they at the time were offering their children and their domestic population rabbit in the way that we offer them chicken. Yes. And they were saving the chicken for the tourists because they weren't perhaps accustomed to the rabbit as much.
Yes.
But because they had the same problem then, worse then than we have now, which is the cost of the imported corn and soya. They couldn't get it because of this cruel American blockade.
Yes.
Now, in our circumstances, we have the Spanish tourists come, and my understanding is that they are quite happy to eat a rabbit stew.
Yes. But a rabbit is actually one of the easiest. Is it an animal you call?
Yes, it is.
Well, but the easiest to raise.
Yes.
Because it's a nice little pen. You put a little box inside with running.
Sure.
Have many kids, many young rabbits in there.
Yeah.
And
look what Mr. Tucker is saying, and he's recommending to the minister. He says, according to the Slow Food USA, which is a research institute, quote, rabbit can produce 6 pounds of meat on the same amount of feed and water it takes a cow to produce just 1 pound. That's a very advantageous ratio, you know.
And one thing is that rabbit can have many more rabbits.
I noticed Mr. Charles is concentrating
on the quantity,
on the prolific breeding of the rabbit.
Yeah, because it was always waiting to hear how many rabbits. You have to count them to see how many go in the box and see how many rabbits.
So but we've used the particular to take us to the general, as we do in our discussions on the early rise. If we can find a cheaper source of protein. Yes, it won't happen all of a sudden. Yes, we're very much addicted to the chicken meat, and we respect that. But if we can, over time, improve our protein content, especially for our school children, yes. Why? I would love the Scientific Research Council and the big people in the meat industry, broilers and Caribbean broilers, all those. Yes, whoever else in there. To develop for us a rabbit meat patty.
And what I would like to find out, why did we stop this massive rabbiting at elementary school, particularly in the country?
Because we get stush. Because we believe
something come that was.
Yes, sir.
But we had chicken then.
Of course, you had fowl.
We didn't have this pretty white and brown fowl.
No.
We have our type of fowl.
Yeah, peeled
Peel neck,
Peel
man.
neck chicken.
Yeah,
Yes.
peel neck.
And another one called sensible. Remember that?
What are you talking about, man? The sense of all shake up yourself. You see our skin, or his skin.
I tell you, no, but these are we're enjoying ourselves, but these are very practical things, and we must stop. Pride comes before the fall, you know, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, but when I listen to you, I ask myself, why, where's the rabbit?
Yes.
Because we used to go to Denby
Uh-huh.
for all schools competition.
Yes, sir.
And that was where you had to kill the rabbit and cook it.
Yes.
And it was tested.
Yes.
And you either come first, second, or don't come in.
Yes.
What has happened to the rabbit?
Well,
I don't know how it fell out. I don't know.
Right. Well, I think our culture, yes, you've heard me say this again and again, and it's one of the areas in which I really rate you. The peasant culture of Jamaica incorporates and incorporated many very practical, useful, affordable, nutritious, spiritual aspects of life. And the urbanization and the migration and the despoiling of our land for the mining has robbed a lot of that from us.
And it was part of our culture, you know.
Of course, sir.
Because when you go to the country, everybody had some fowl.
Yes.
In fact, I remember finding a fowl nest
Yes.
with about a dozen eggs.
Oh, look at that.
And sometimes you don't find the fowl nest until the fowl hatch.
Yeah.
Are really hatch, and it changes its culture.
Sure.
Because it starts to make a different sound
Yes, clock
for
different.
the chicken.
Yes.
And sometimes the fowl come out of the chicken.
Yes.
So when you go into the bush and find a fowl nest, you know, with all a dozen eggs, it's a big
A
find,
big
you know.
thing. You go on over, you can get all 3 and 6 months.
And you are told not to touch it
No.
because probably those eggs are already
Germinated and developing. They're hatching.
Right.
Yes.
So you have to watch it.
Yes.
And, well, mongoose sometimes rob you.
True.
And dog sometimes. And the 2-foot mongoose was one of the...
No, but so where does this lead us now? Should we, in terms of our cultural exposition, yes, we're looking in different directions. We're looking in my view, more banal, more hedonistic directions. Not entirely, but significantly. Yes. Instead of which we need to be recreating, remembering, improving, using science to advance some of these aspects of our lives, of our culture, which out of the crucible of hardship, we adopted, instead of giving them up and thinking that somehow that is modern and nice.
But you know, as you're talking about it, I kind of remember that the rabbit thing wasn't just a ordinary food, you know.
Yeah.
It was top class people.
Look at that.
Who
you will remember that, you see?
Yes.
Now look at that.
I remember killing any rabbit and carry home.
Yes.
Or anybody come home with any rabbit.
Yes.
But I remember that it was something that the girls mostly were involved in the cooking of it.
Sure.
And it was being tested by outside people coming when you have special days.
I am promoting rabbit patty for school picnic. Yes? Let's hear what our caller has to say. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sir Ronnie.
Hi, welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you, Chief.
Morning, sir. Don't tell me you have a rabbit pen.
Not at all. Let me first of all indicate that I am quite impressed with this morning program from Mondays to Wednesdays, and it is the first time that I'm having the opportunity to speak to you, eminent gentlemen.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Congratulations on an outstanding program from Mondays to Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you gentlemen yesterday discussing the crime problem in Jamaica. We oftentimes vehemently criticize the police for various things, which are by and large warranted. However, not enough commendations are given whenever they're due. Over the past 2 weeks, I think approximately 30 illegal firearms and ammunition have been found and seized by the police, which I think is very commendable, to put it bluntly, especially here in St. James, where we have such an escalating and deadly murder problem. I think I need to commend the CTOC team, the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Unit, St. James team, and the St. James Police, led by SSP Vernon Ellis, for finding and seizing those illegal guns and ammunition at the Sangster International Airport.
Share that with you. True.
I heard Minister Chang in recent times articulating that the Firearms Act will be amended and concomitantly the Enhanced Security Measures Act will be promulgated into law in the new fiscal year. I think it's very important, gentlemen, for these amendments, when they're taken to Parliament, they should not be rushed through Parliament, but must be thoroughly debated in Parliament and also allow for public input. Many defense councils have also forthrightly and vociferously stated that there is no need for any amendment to the well-tabulated Bail Act. I've heard Minister Chang and others within the government expounding the need for there to be amendments to the Bail Act. But Ronnie, you've been quite an eminent and accomplished attorney at law in Jamaica with many decades of experience. Do you think there is need for any amendment to the Bail Act?
It's hard to give a blanket response, but if I have to, the answer is no. Where I think we have a problem is twofold. First of all, we need reliable statistics about what happens when persons are either denied bail or when they are granted bail and reoffend. We do not have statistics on that. We have anecdotal evidence, usually shocking evidence of somebody on bail committing another crime. But we need to be
going after those who they think is going to be given evidence to them.
So we need to have empirical data on that caller. First of all, the second thing is what I'm in favor of is speedy trials. Yes, because my experience in the courts has been that first of all, judges are very conservative about bail. Very conservative. Let me tell you that. You have to make a strong case. But when a person has been in custody for 2 years or 3 years, and when the case comes up for mention, the statements are not in place, the policeman doesn't turn up, the witness doesn't come, and the accused says, I'm applying for bail. Yes, and the judge looks at the trial calendar and sees that the earliest time that trial is going to happen is 2025 or 2026. To keep that person in custody with a weak case up to that point, and with such a long prospect for a trial date, the issue of bail becomes extremely just.
Yes. As far as I'm concerned, Ronnie and Chief Charles, I have gone through the Bail Act and I've been guided by some attorneys while discussing the Bail Act.
Good.
And as I have come to the informed conclusion, if you will, that there is absolutely no need to amend the Bail Act to interfere with the wide discretion of the judge.
Well, that's the other point I should have made, because anything that is going to interfere with the discretion of the judges, I view very skeptically. We have good judges, we have a tradition in that regard, and there is no need for us to easily interfere with that discretion, eh?
And it is
Yes.
it is a presentation
Yeah,
of the particular person's attorney,
yeah,
and probably some additional thing the judge would ask for
yeah.
that allow the judge to come
Make
to a
decision.
conclusion.
Yes.
Because when a man is creating a problem in an area and is taken into custody and is taken before the judge, to release him on an application by an attorney,
Yeah.
all right, back into where he was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
It's a community problem, and it's hard for the judge. But then, as you would say, because you're not only an attorney, you're a pastor. No, I'm lowering your status, right? You're a minister. What's the difference? What? The judge have a serious problem. Have a serious problem when you hear from the police why they have to take the person out.
Yeah, but my experience, caller and Pearnel, is that
Yes.
when the police oppose bail, very seldom is it granted. Very seldom. If the police come and say, "My Lord," or "Your Honor, we are opposing bail for this person because of the following things. They might go back in the community, do this, etc."
Yeah.
Yes, that ends the question in most cases.
Yes.
But you cannot in a free country lock up a person for years and years and years until you then try and find the evidence of what they may have done. And then you come and you say you're holding that person on suspicion, and that suspicion goes on weeks and months. That is a fundamental objection to the states of emergency and to the kind of tightening close to the state of emergency, which is what I'm so sorry to say the government thinks is the answer to crime, which is not.
Absolutely, Ronnie. The Unexplained Wealth Act and Account Monitoring Act, I think, should be put into law. However, I think the implementing agencies should be confined only to the Financial Investigations Division and to the Colonel Desmond Edwards-led MOCA and MOCA West. When you look at the areas of concern still within the security framework, there is still the need for more equipment for the police force to bring up the police force to at least 15,000 officers. Well, the force structure is currently being reformed, so that is commendable. The need for widespread infrastructure upgrade for the Army, for the police, and for MOCA, that is very important. I think the JCF, based on what I have been told, is still in need of approximately 2,000 motor vehicles, additional ballistic vests, more telecommunications equipment, and it is my view, eminent gentlemen, that more and more usage should be made of body cameras, especially for police officers who go on operation. And I think that the overall technology within the Jamaica Constabulary Force is seriously lagging behind accepted world international policing standards. For example, the modern advanced cybercrimes equipment that is needed to tackle the escalating cybercrimes problems in Jamaica is not there. And it would seem to me no one is focusing on this. The security forces running need an additional, and Colonel, an additional $25 billion in order to allow them to tackle this problem. $15 billion for the police force, $1 billion for the Army, and $10 billion for MOCA and MOCA West.
Wow. Well, no.
Let me say something quickly to you before you leave.
Yeah.
In my opinion, when you put 15 billion more, you're going to need 15 billion more. There are, in my opinion, something that was amended and started, which has shifted. If you go into, because in my opinion again, community policing is nearly as important, if not
That's the
important, to help the regular police than anything.
Yeah.
No
Me-
gun, no car.
Me too.
You live in your yard,
Yeah.
you're known,
But caller, you would accept that
you're
too.
the first. And the point
Yes,
is that the
quite so.
district constables that has been removed from the districts into police force is wrong.
Okay, but before time goes and for the feature, let me put this to both of you, please. How does that money? That's a big money, and I would claim the same is needed for education. Does that include increased salaries for the police? Because this is what I want to discuss with Pearnel when we return. Because how do you advance? You have to give the police more money, salary, apart from all the other things that the caller speaks of, the cars, the technology, the vests, etc. But at the same time, how do you do this within the context of a public service?
And the amount of money allotted in the budget for public servants, teachers, police, everybody.
And what is the level of accountability that you ask in return for the increased salary, which is not a principle that's easily accepted? Caller, listen, you impress us so much by your command of these issues and your concern for public safety. Thanks for your call. We hope to hear from you again.
Thank you so much.
All the
best,
best.
you gentlemen.
Good. That's it. We're coming back shortly on the early rise on the Bridge 99. Listen up. A little bit later, Nathaniel Peat, social entrepreneur, international motivational speaker, founder of the Safety Box and board member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, will join us talking about things with the public service and the COVID vaccine in England. MP Charles, I am distressed at what I'm hearing about the United States, what I'm reading. Here is it this morning, a candidate for the Republican Party is telling voters that they must show up with arms when they're going to vote. And if things don't go right, they must load up and be ready. Here is the assertion, more than an allegation now, that there is evidence now that Mr. Trump instructed or tried to instruct the Department of Homeland Services to hold on to some of the voting boxes, yes, the voting machines rather, in respect of the other election. Trump directed Giuliani to ask about seizing voting machines is the tracker right now. This is embarrassing. This is distressing.
Well, I said that the thing that America hated mostly was these things happening in developing country. And all of a sudden, they learned how to do it.
Remember when President Jimmy Carter was a wonderful man?
Oh, yes.
Remember when he used to come here and he used to watch our elections and go all through the Caribbean and elsewhere in the world? Yes. We send observers. But they are no longer the shining star of democracy. How they can do this?
Well, this Congress really is the worst we have seen for decades.
Yeah.
The partisan fight.
Yeah.
And it seems as if it started with Trump, during the Trump era.
Boy, but hey, in any other country of this world, that man would be in jail,
Well, you heard what his niece said.
What she said?
She said that not enough is good enough. Enough is not good enough for Trump.
So hold on also. What does that mean? That points to a greed. Yes, that I must always have more. I must always control more materially in terms of power. You think any of that is likely to infect our leaders, our people?
Well, I used to say that when I present a manifesto to the public, and the public vote me in a majority, they have given me the right to proceed with the manifesto as is, where is.
Right.
And that is not really so.
No.
That's not really so.
Yeah.
Because in the United States, that we recognize as a shining star of democracy.
Yes, sir.
Right? What is happening there is what we got rid of years ago in Jamaica.
Yes, sir.
In other words, we work together in this parliament better than they work over there.
Yeah.
Where you have ever heard the man is reducing social benefits, this and that, and it's
restricting the right to vote.
And
Yeah.
reducing.
You know, one of the shocks of my early life, we in the early 1960s, I had a small engagement with the issue of registering black people in the South to vote.
Yes.
And the shock of my life was to see how difficult that was. Yes? How unachieved that was in 1964-65, when the Voting Rights Act was finally passed. By comparison to us in Jamaica, who had a universal right to vote from 1944.
Yes, very fortunate.
We were a colony.
Yes.
Yes? I cost Britain.
And we moved from women not being able to vote
Yes, sir.
in some part of the world.
Yes, sir.
And if you weren't paying taxes,
Yes, sir.
you couldn't vote.
Look at Garvey. Garvey was defeated because
Right.
his electorate didn't pay the required tax.
Exactly.
George Seymour
Yeah.
called him out for that, and look at what he suffered, and how the cause of the ordinary people in Jamaica, black people, was denied because of that. We have a lot to be proud of in terms of our democratic tradition, not in terms of the division. Luciano is right. Yes, Audley. Divide and rule, in the song about our leaders that we just played. But I am disappointed, and I'm reaching out to our diaspora people, because it's shameful. We want to look up to you and how you are going so.
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
How you spend?
I'm speaking for the diaspora people to say that we don't like it either.
Well,
we have gotten rid of it.
True.
And come here where it was better.
True.
And it looks as if it is getting worse here than where we come from.
But the American people have to look upon their history of the last century carefully, you know. Because look at it. The pure losers in Vietnam, you know. Look at the thousands of people killed,
Yes.
Americans killed.
Yes.
When we look at Afghanistan, what them going there for, what them achieve, and them come out with their tail between their legs, and tens of thousands of American citizens, yes, dead or injured, and $1 trillion spent on that.
And they could have used that money to uplift the world. And somebody said, but it's their money. Why are you going to use it to uplift Africa?
No, brethren, but even so.
But most of it come from bauxite and
Sure,
gold.
sure. The profits
Bauxite is
from-
not
from-
the only,
from the
only
same
mining.
people.
You know.
No, cobalt, copper, all these things.
That's right.
And 1/8 of Americans are hungry this morning. Yes?
How many say that?
One out of every 8 is hungry this morning. Yes? So,
Somebody said that can't be true.
no, it is true, sir.
What is it? What is the ratio in Jamaica?
Well, I don't know, but I'm not comparing that. Hunger is
No,
hunger.
no, but if you compare it,
Yes, we're not so bad.
we have banana,
Well,
we have whole heap of grow.
Yes.
We have cabbage.
Yes.
We have a lot of wild thing.
Yes.
You think the Jamaican man not really?
see the guy on the TV right now, sir, is having road rage, and him have the gun in him, and pull out the gun and just start fire all around because he's vexed on the road. And you want to tell me that we must arm more Jamaicans? No, sir. We must disarm more Jamaicans.
We don't need that, Ronnie, because
We're
the fact
different,
is,
man.
most of the people who look in gun now can't control it, you know.
No, sir.
And you're in a place where
And there's a letter.
and the first thing going, hold on, and there's a gun.
Yeah.
And when you fire it, you're going to shoot the wrong man.
Yeah, there's a letter this morning in the press. You will see it when you look at your newspapers more later on. Where somebody, I shouldn't even know this because I said earlier I don't deal with anonymous letters, but this is so-called some woman saying that women are being prejudiced by the firearms licensing authority because there's a presumption there that women don't need a gun to defend themselves. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Well,
That we come to? Yes? So if you no, sir.
you're going to have a grand army society.
Yes, sir.
Grand army population.
Yeah.
And so you can't quarrel anymore. You just shoot.
Shoot. Right. And no. Yes. Yeah, that is it. Now, earlier on, one of our colleagues was saying to us with great wisdom, when we hear a press conference about the big find of guns on the wharf or in customs or wherever. We shouldn't. Why we know when police suspect that or find it? Why they not leave it? Put one drone above it and make the people who it's sent for, make them come for it, so we can know is who.
Hold on a minute, though. Hold on a minute. Something has happened quietly, and we haven't been looking at it. How could police go to somewhere in East Kingston and digging
Stadium Garden, Southeast St. Andrew, yes.
and find up to 10 guns?
Yes, sir.
I was always saying the technology has reached a stage where you can walk with something in a pocket and know when you walk over a gun in the dirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Metal
Covered.
detector.
Right? So it seems as if the police has quietly achieved a level where they can detect gunpowder and other elements.
More praise to them for that. But
because as I said, them digging more and finding gun underneath.
But I suspect they've also done another important good thing. And that is they have gained the confidence of certain people who will have told them.
People have gained the confidence of them.
That
they will
well done,
tell
Mr.
them.
Charles. Thank you, sir. That is it. So
because when you used to
that
tell
is the way to go. Don't come in and point a gun in my face.
No.
Come and make friend me and talk to me and say, hey, you can't live this way, man. Come, tell me what the position is. And then that is your district constable. That is your community policing.
They don't come back to me now because people will tell the right district. Well, let me tell you something.
You think
every man in a district knows
what's happening.
who the bad men are. Yeah. If police can know, say, you have 450 gangs in Jamaica, don't you know the gang leaders?
Yes, sir.
Do you know the deputy gang leaders?
I suppose.
And what do you mean, suppose? Yeah. If you know that there are 20 gangs in East Kingston, you must know who are the 20 people leading it.
Yes, sir.
And you must know who are their deputies. Yes. And you know their membership.
Yeah. But if you put it very, very oversimplified, if you point gun in my face, me not tell you what me know. Me not tell you.
But there's more than that.
And if you lock me up and beat me, which is a normal thing, yes, me not tell you.
But
you're gonna lie.
That is not the big thing when in holding back, you know.
It's what?
People are fearful that when they say to Mr. Police,
yes, sir,
the boy over number 10 have a gun.
Yes, sir. But
the boy over number 10 call him and say, why you call up my name to police for?
But that is if it happened to Delroy, can you imagine what is happening to Warra down the street? And
People down the street are saying, I know.
Yeah, but I can't.
Man called me and said, boy, holy pursuit in the guardians. Where do you call the police? Me, sir? And the first thing the police go and tell the man who called him.
Yes, sir. So when
so it set back certain of our police because that is bad for the police force. You know, and our good policemen are having that problem.
Well, this is it.
Because they don't know who to come with them.
Okay. Now I understand that the reform.
Sorry, you heard that when the police moving out, the man them here already said they come in.
All the while.
And who tell them?
Well, right inside the same station.
And so the police don't know that among themselves going out there. Somebody tell them already who come in.
Our friend who was advising on him what he thinks would be a more prudent and more effective way of finding out who bringing in the guns in the country by watching it rather than announcing it. Yes? Said something else. He said that when he talked to a police friend of his, and said, why you not do that? He said, when they find out is who, the class and names and the quality of people that are involved would shock anybody.
Well, they need to shock us.
Shock us.
Right?
You're right.
We will take the shock.
Yes.
Because, Ronnie, I don't know. Everything you do, the man them have an alternative.
No, but you see, because the moral is not right. If the moral is right and you say, no, we're really going to deal with this thing now. And if you have unity, yes? If instead of one side saying this about the police commissioner or that about this other one, yes? How about we sit down and we say, no, come now. The internal reorganization of the police force, the resources that are needed, all of this is going to become a joint national endeavor. Not that much better?
Ronnie.
Instead of holding it, saying that crime because PNP won't back state of emergency.
Well,
and Golding I say that it will give police commissioner 60 days. Hey, those two statements, yes, emblematic about two leaders, people I respect. Yes? How does that take us any further towards a crime-free society, Mr. Charles?
Well, let me ask you about this one. You know, I don't comment on that one. The woman and the 3 children who were killed in Trelawney, and the announcement is make a mistake in the wrong house.
Yes, sir.
Somebody told me it's not no wrong house, you know.
Oh, God.
They are saying to the community, you next.
Oh, Jesus.
In other words, somebody who live in there, who would have talked,
Mother Mary.
not going to talk no more, because whether you're guilty or not guilty, whether it's you or not, the man then just kill you and say it's wrong house.
Yeah.
You think so that it's a wrong house, and they go kill 3 people one time.
No, but then...
But it is identifying you in the community.
Yeah.
Shut him out.
Yeah. Well, you see, when I reflect on that kind of dog-hearted behavior, that mentality, and when I juxtapose that with the stories you tell me about your childhood and your culture from St. Anne come up, yes? When I think of my own background, different but wholesome, yeah? I have to ask myself, what has gone wrong? What in the process of modernity? What in the process of that we expect and we still continue to hope will carry us toward a higher level, a better level? The nationalist struggle for self-government, for independence, for all these things. What have we lost and why have we lost it? And when are we going to recognize it instead of simply changing the color and the code of the oppression that we bring upon ourselves?
Let's get into the theory. The more development you have, you are going to have more development in the negative side too.
Really? Boy,
yes.
That's a very dim view of human nature.
Yeah, but look at it. Look at it. Man, he used to fling rock stone one time.
Right, so now I'm a shoot gun.
After I put on rock, he pick up in cutlass and the knife.
Yes, sir. No,
after I put on that, him want a revolver.
Yes, sir.
No, him don't want a revolver.
No, sir, want an AK.
It's an AK.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I want 17 shot.
Yeah.
Now, the development move from flinging a rock stone.
Yeah, but why?
Gone to this.
Okay, but why have we not been able to persuade him that from rock stone to AK is not the way to go? You can't be happy in life.
We try.
It's just dead.
We try, but it also lift the culture and the education. Man who used to do that first was because him ignorant.
Yes, sir. So
now the man who wants a gun, he said that if you're capable of getting a gun license, you should join it, and that every woman should carry a gun. For what? To shoot every man who come after her?
Yeah.
I mean...
No, but...
Get there.
Yeah, see,
there was a time people afraid for gun, you know.
Yes, sir. Me, right now, same one.
Afraid for carry it.
Same one. I'm afraid for see it, because it has one purpose.
I hear a man about out there in bedroom. Mr. Charles, how you have gone?
Well, I'm not going to press you. I'm going to state that the one time I hold a gun in my life was as a cadet in St. George's College, and I was a little whingy boy, and the gun was heavy. I must have won a World War II left over, and it nearly tumbled me down. I don't want to see it. I don't want to have it. I don't think that my safety depends upon that. My social order cannot accommodate that. No.
Yes, but hold on now, Ronnie. Let us not believe that gun doesn't have its place in the society.
Sure, the security forces.
And not only the security force.
There
are areas where, for example, some business people...
Look, I'm not going to argue that.
The protection of... It's not a one-way street.
It isn't, but it should be a very narrow two-way street.
I will agree that it should be properly examined and properly covered.
You see how general talk about morals and standards in the society leads to very specific things. That's what we do on the early rise. on the bridge. We soon come back. We have a caller coming from England. It'll be interesting. Stay tuned. Nathaniel Peat, yo.
Yes.
Good morning to you, sir. Well, good afternoon for you.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good to be with you again.
Good. Happy to be with you again. Pearnel Charles greets you as well.
And Ronnie will tell you that after we hung up from you the other day, we had an admirable discussion.
Yes.
A discussion expressing our admiration for you
and the work you're doing.
of the work you're doing over there.
Big up Pete and his work in the United Kingdom. Tell us, Nathaniel Peat, social entrepreneur, member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. We love examples, we love copycat in Jamaica. Maybe we won't follow you on this one, but how is it now? Government has said that health workers don't have to get a vaccination in order to keep their job. Is that what Boris Johnson is now saying, and why?
That's right. I mean, the health minister has initially, he initially was speaking about it not basically happening mandatory first, and then it changed to mandatory, and now it's back to non-mandatory. I mean, I think it's actually come as a result of a lot of ministers which have been appealed to by NHS workers, because there are some people which did not want to get the vaccination simply because of, the research around the vaccine, or they have problems where they've seen family members that have been adversely affected from the vaccine. I think there was a total of about 127,000 NHS workers that would lose their
NHS is
jobs.
National Health Service.
Yeah.
The National Health Service, that's right. 127,000 NHS workers who provide care, in hospitals and at people's homes would have been impacted as a result of this mandatory thing.
Let me ask you this. If you, regretfully, were in a care facility, probably suffering from COVID yourself, or suspected or prone to it, you had a comorbidity, would you want to be attended to somebody who refused to take normal precautions like a vaccination to look after you? Would you?
Well, I have been on a hospital bed, and many in Jamaica would know this already. From I get ministers actually sending me messages saying get well and so forth. So many people would have known I was suffering heavily from coronavirus, where I had my lungs completely filled with corona, delta as well as pneumonia.
Oh Lord!
And at that time, to me, it did not really matter whether or not the person was vaccinated or unvaccinated, because I just needed that care.
Yeah.
In addition to this, there is other studies which are coming out now from Israel, where it's saying that those who have had COVID before, from this data which they collected from the Israeli study, which looked at a number of Israelis that had had the coronavirus, and when they measured that against those who had been vaccinated, the natural immunity post having the coronavirus proved to be stronger in this study.
Okay, well,
and I think many people have kind of gone onto that as well, and so some of these NHS workers, I believe, have gone onto that.
Hold on, let me understand. These are people who have had coronavirus and are claiming, hopefully it can be verified by some tests, that they have an immunity that is equal to or better even than those vaccinated who haven't had it.
That's what this study
had suggested. That is okay. That I understand.
Because you build an immunity after you get rid of it.
Yes, sir. But what I'm saying is that talk morals with us now, Nathaniel Peat. Isn't it? Do I not have a social responsibility and a personal responsibility, by whatever means, recovering from coronavirus or getting a vaccination, to make myself as healthy as possible, particularly if I'm dealing with other people whose health is compromised or likely to be? What do you think?
Definitely, you have to take every precaution.
Yeah.
That means that you're maintaining social distance. That means you're washing your hand. That means you wear your mask. It means that you do everything within your power to do that. However, if there is something which is going to suggest that there is going to be, some level of risk level, and I think this is where people are scared. And I know the same issue exists in Jamaica as well. So
Well, you sounding like an anti-vaxxer, man. I don't like that.
I'm not an anti. I have every single vaccine.
Okay,
right.
Good.
I have
Clear that up.
Let me tell you something. I have traveled extensively, and I have vaccines.
Yeah.
But what it is this. Is there has to be some fairness in this, because things should not be mandatory. And I think the freedom to choose, I believe, is with every person's human right.
Hold on, man.
They have the choice to do
that. But I'm anxious to deal with you on that, because of course freedom to choose is a hallmark of democracy. But my choice cannot be such that it endangers anybody else.
Definitely, of course not.
So hold on now. If the science tells us that there is even some small measure of protection of another by my accepting something like a vaccine, what is my responsibility? I can say, no, I refuse to do anything that might help you because I have a right of personal choice. Nathaniel Peat, what you say?
I'm not saying that at all, sir.
Okay.
Not at all. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this: is that the impact. You see, if you're measuring against the amount of people that are getting infected, if you're measuring against the impact of losing those individuals that have been working within the NHS that have not got the virus, but have been working throughout the entire period of the pandemic.
Yeah.
If there is a medical reason why they cannot do it, if there is a moral reason why they cannot do it, if there is a religious reason why they cannot do it, then human rights must come into that as well. Then the power of the patient then has the ability then to say whether or not they want that person to care for them.
We will agree with a person who have a medical
reason
advise that if you take the vaccine, remember from the beginning, it says none of these vaccines is 100%.
No, but if you have a medical reason.
Ronnie, what I would like to say to Pete, that those who are dying from the dead, 90% of them never took the vaccine. And those who are alive.
But isn't that true in England as well, Nathaniel?
Well, there's, the Office of National Statistics has published data, and this is where I think we need to really look at data around this, because they've had those who have been vaccinated but have an underlying health condition that have died.
Well, yeah,
as well as those that have an underlying health condition that die from coronavirus. Right. The virus is killing people, that is for sure. I was in hospital and I saw people dying next to me on the beds. Yeah. Let me tell you something. If you have the ability to do and protect yourself, do that. Yeah. There's a lot of advisors that have advised the government on this act, and I believe that many people's jobs have been saved as a result of this non-mandatory requirement for the NHS workers.
Hold on now. Let me accept all you've said, but at the same time ask you if there's not another reason. Looking over the transoms of United Kingdom social and political reality is that Boris is trying to let go everything now, remove all restrictions, in a hope that it will bolster up his popularity, which is severely compromised.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they're doing politically, honestly, and I have no insight into the internal thinking of leadership within the Conservative Party here in the United
I don't
Kingdom.
think you do, but we can
only speculate on that. But
reasonable speculation.
What has been said is that Boris, I know that it's been said that this has been treated, they're treating this Omicron not as the same level as they did Delta. So I don't know whether this variant is less or it's or if it has a less power to kill. Right. I'm not sure. People are recovering now. Another thing that I'm going to mention is that what is happening from the beginning of the pandemic to now, the hospitals in the UK are learning a lot about fighting the disease inside of hospital.
Good.
And so when the pandemic first hit, it was a big rush. And I think medicine is now learning more about, the coronavirus. I have my cousin right now in the ICU, and I know of people that were in fact, impacted on the same level as my cousin when he went in, that unfortunately passed away, where my cousin now is getting this level of treatment, whereby, he's now been put unconscious. They're filling his body with the antibodies, the various different things that are going to fight the disease.
Okay.
And pumping him up with the relevant things so that his oxygen is now coming up. So I think that the hospitals are learning how to deal with it better.
Well, that's good. Tell me now, before you go, what is Boris Johnson holding on to? There is a certain question mark, almost a humorous one that Jamaicans have. It is obviously, it is a double standard if Downing Street under his leadership was having parties when everybody else was locked down. But hold on, Nathaniel Peat, there's a big question of trust. But there are much bigger issues that Britain is facing right now, I mean, that you're going to kick out the Prime Minister for?
There is so many issues, and there has been issues with government for a long time in terms of trust. And I think what happened here was really bad in that they held a Christmas party, for those that don't know. When the rest of the country was locked down, people are stopped from visiting their family at the time. You had Number 10, which had a party, and there is other MPs that have resigned as a result of this. I think. I don't think that leadership.
What was the other guy?
No, I cannot see the leadership right now. Right, I cannot see the leadership right now.
Right.
Of anyone to take over right now. And so I think that with that in mind,
he's going to survive.
People are just going to stick with it.
Well, hold on.
I think he has been saved.
Yes.
But so far.
Because
that's what I told you.
You think him gone?
I think he's going to go.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have to go.
But
there is some moral in the British politics that is not too broad outside of England.
I'm interested in the reasons why Nathaniel Peat, and trying to match your standards in England with ours in Jamaica, because not only Johnson, but I'm remembering poor Mr. Let me change that. Mr. Hancock had to resign as health secretary because he kissed his girlfriend. In the office. No, really, I don't approve of kissing your girlfriend in your office if you're a married man.
But you don't think that is sufficient to resign over?
That you're going to take away the job of who apparently was an efficient health secretary. Oh my! Why do we continue to major in the minors, Mr.
Well, I think that's a good word. Majoring in the manners, or concentrating on what is not too important.
No, and I'm not. Well, okay. What do you think, Nathaniel? I mean, you have to help us.
Well, I mean, the prime minister he's clearly rejected the calls for resignation. Right, and there must be some level of reasoning behind this. However, there has been calls for resignation of people in terms of, within the police force and breaching, certain things. I know that the Metropolitan Police, has been, even held to account with this as well because of the research which needs to go into this. And, from my perspective, there is a level of integrity that you have to hold in an office of that level.
We agree.
And it's important for trust. And I believe that there's a lot of bridges that have been burnt as a result of distrust. It's important that we hold leaders to account on different things. And especially with this, whereby many people were obedient to the rules. And then those who have been elected into position, unfortunately, did this act.
Look, I understand that, but I am anxious that people be held to account on the fact, on the issue, for example, of withdrawal certain type of aid to elderly people in England, which I've read about. I'm interested in people being held to account for the reduction of welfare payments to children for children's benefit over a certain number of children in a family, which are critical for the future. Those are things that are very, very moral and issues of morality, and as important as whether you have a girlfriend or whether you have a party during lockdown time,
Definitely, as well as the disproportionality that we experience with the amount of black boys
Look at
that
that in
arrested, put in
prison.
prison,
Yes, which is
as
your particular
well as the
ministry.
injustices
Yes.
of pulling away the money which
assistance.
goes into certain communities.
Look at that, sir.
And we have to listen, and I'm telling you, this is even for Jamaica as well. You know, we have to hold, leadership to account, and there must be transparency at the highest levels.
Yes.
And integrity is something which I believe is somewhat. I don't know. There's like a smoke screen in front of everything that's going on because of coronavirus, and I think that the virus and the pandemic has slowed probably people's intention to kind of go and try to hold them to account. I believe that this thing has really dampened the people and the people's voice in terms of holding leadership to account because of the pandemic.
Just before you go though, a lot of the 60,000 frontline health workers who would have been dismissed had this policy not been altered, many of those would be people of Caribbean origin, wouldn't they?
That's right. There were a lot of Caribbean descent and Caribbean origin, and where in fact disproportionately the coronavirus has impacted us more than other groups.
Really,
it has, yes, and data has come out to support that as well.
Peter, I want you to tell us whether this call for Johnson to go is partisan or national. In other words, does it go right across? Because if it does, in my opinion, he's going to go. He's going to have to go. He doesn't have a challenging thing behind him.
Yes.
In other words, somebody to take over. But is it just from the other side, or
I believe that the UK is disgruntled with what is happening with government. But again, there are those who are neither side. They are apolitical in the sense that when you're looking at the landscape in terms of who could take up the leadership, I think that this is I think that people probably are in a position where some want them to go, others don't want them to go, others want them to stay, but others don't know who to
I love to point out ironies, because were Johnson to go, Nathaniel Peat, and whether it is Sajid Javid or Richie Sunak or Priti Patel, all who are immigrant origin of highly Indic names. Look at what has happened to Imperial Britain, to Victoria's Empire, where somebody who comes as an immigrant into England ends up ruling England. What a precare.
Yeah, but Mrs. May is back this morning,
I think that weighs some. I think that weighs on it as well, to be honest. But,
no. I mean, Miss Lou had a poem called "Colonization in Reverse," and that.
And that for real.
I'm sure you face that every day. So people say, but who are you?
Yes.
Where you come from?
Yes.
And you look where you want to take away this from we?
Yes.
We've been here.
Yes. Anyway, that's important. Keep up your good work, Nathaniel Peat, and keep us up to date with the all that's happening in the United Kingdom. We rate what you're doing. Thanks again for your company.
Really congratulate you. We're proud of you. We talk about you after we leave
after the program. Thanks again, Nathaniel Peat.
Thank you very much.
Social entrepreneur, international motivational speaker, founder of the Safety Box, dealing with the peril of black youth in England, board member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. This is the Early Rise on the Beat, on the Bridge 99, drawing together Jamaicans and Jamaican lovers all over the world. Soon come. A New Hampshire Republican legislative bill would ban history which depicts the United States in a negative light.
So slavery would no longer be...
You can't talk about slavery no more.
No.
So we Jamaicans, for example, we Caribbean people, could not appreciate our history, which has been so many people, so many institutions, so many indices of power in a negative light. We can't know that. We can only know the good.
And the sacrifice
that people have made. Yes.
Which
not one of our national heroes could have get national hero because we couldn't know about them.
No, they couldn't get a visa.
Yes. Because Bustamante was a rabble rouser, you know, and Manley was a socialist.
You couldn't get a visa to leave from here to go to America.
No, sir.
You couldn't land.
No, negative light. Oh my God. Yes? No, seriously.
But then,
hello. Wealth is supposed to make you wiser, no? Or it's not necessary. Yeah? Education is supposed to help you to think straight.
Ronnie, I will never forget.
Yes, sir.
I saw two American, my word, white men standing in Florida when Obama won.
Yeah.
And one looked at the other and said, tell me something. Is what that we just do?
Yeah. And that is
What that we just do?
Let me tell you.
Taking from the cotton field to the White House?
Yes, sir. And
the man couldn't answer.
African father. Yes, look at that. Yes. So no.
You weren't a person anymore, you know.
No,
You're a cotton man.
Of course.
Descendant.
Of course.
Gone to the White House.
Yes. And that is that same outrage that you are describing, yes, is what is fueling a lot of the dystopia that is going on in America right now, because they have made up their mind.
Yes.
Some people, not all, thank God not all, but a fair proportion have made up their mind that under no conditions could something like that ever be allowed to happen again.
Well,
yes, and unfortunately, so Lord, hear me now. There's going to be in Jamaica. Yes, we have a similar mindset that say when my side get in, fortunately not my race only, but when my side get in, you must never have no talk again, because look what you do. Look who you are. Yeah?
And that has said on almost every occasion that there's an election.
Yes, sir.
But it's not listened to.
And
in my opinion.
No. In fact, it is still being cultured. It is what is preventing. It is what is preventing
the togetherness that is needed.
Absolutely, sir. So we can point on our program correctly to the dystopia in the United States, a horrible dystopia, where a man like Donald Trump, yes, who was planning to overthrow the democracy of the country, is still favored by 45% of the electorate.
Well, let me ask you a question. You think these people who are leaders of the bridge could have sat down and look at you and look at me and look at your color and look at mine and look at your politics and look at mine and look at your education and look at mine and say, you think that these bridge people set me up?
No, normal. But that's good.
But it is a symbol.
Yeah.
It is something symbolic of what the future
can be,
could be,
must be,
and maybe should be or must be.
I think so too.
Right? Because we are able to talk, we are able to reason, rather than seeing you as you as an exploiter and you as a sufferer.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're the exploiter and I'm the sufferer.
Guilty as charged. What a life. No, listen though, I want to reflect in the last few moments we have on that chap who just spoke to, Nathaniel Peat.
Yes.
It is very important that we recognize, as you have led us to do, the people who are in the diaspora, but who are deeply conscious of their Jamaican roots and identity, and who seek positions of leadership. Yes, surely we have to culture that tendency, the individuals, but also the structure of how many of us will go abroad. Many young people listening to us in Jamaica will think that of their future as being elsewhere. But the strength of the relationship, the bonding, is of great importance, And the fact that this man there is actually working in the interests of Caribbean people, the interests particularly of those who are deviant or in trouble. That's what his safety box is about, as we spoke of the time before. This is strong. This is good. This is something unique that we're trying to do, which is to get in touch with those people in whatever field they are in.
Yes, but I think you miss one little point.
Tell me.
It's not only, put it easier, it's not only black people.
No.
There are some people in England of British, white origin that he's catering to.
Sure.
No, that is one of the greatest things about it.
Absolutely.
Because there are some of our
you're right.
hue,
Yes.
our socio-economic background,
Yeah.
who don't need him.
Uh-huh.
Follow me?
Sure.
Why the others are, and that is why I think I'm so proud of this young man and others like him, others in the diaspora that come from Jamaica, who are serving right across the board, representing what we wish that even in Jamaica they could do.
Of course.
And they couldn't get it. They couldn't get it here. Maybe if Pete was here, he would be in politics. But he would be one-sided like we were.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well put. But then tell me now, surely then part of our socializing, part of our education system ought to be preparing us to be, can we be two things without a split personality, to be deeply rooted in Jamaica, but also people of the world?
Yes, and you can do it if you have a philosophy of internationalism, people here, there, everywhere, but then we have this feeling that those who are at the bottom need more help than those who are at the top.
Yeah.
So we cater to the bottom.
Yeah.
That is something you have to tell me how we're going to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I come back to this to my mantra. If you educate them right from the first 1,000 days of their existence, from their conceived, and you orient people in a certain way with certain necessities of life, a certain kind of teaching, a certain kind of relationship, I believe that a great deal of our problems will be solved. The problem is what happens in the interim, where you miss that out.
I remember that we came last week to say if we could make education the number one thing, not only in Jamaica, in the world, it would lift the population of the world to a certain level. But I have an article to show you tomorrow morning where somebody is saying the industrial relation did more to solving poverty
than education.
Well, it didn't say than education. It said that the industrial revolution is the key.
Well, undoubtedly, but the two are not disconnected. But I would be interested in that article because I do believe that there are many, many different nerve ends to the development process.
Yes.
And that is the important thing for us to accept and to culture each and not to be overwhelmed by the complexity of the problem. Yes, and when one says that, just as we complete, that is just the effort to do that, to recognize how many different things have to be serviced. I'm thoughtful of the Minister of Finance preparing the budget that is going to be launched on March 8th, just a month away from now. Yes, because he has to be looking at each one of these elements. The members of the cabinet are going to have, you've had the experience, so have I, where you have to offer a little bit there, a little bit there. How do you accept?
Carrying a little part from your ministry as to where the problem is.
And how do you relate that to national development and not just to perhaps constituency concerns or partisan interests?
Yes, but as you say that, we are catering to our brothers and sisters in Canada, United States, or abroad in general, because it's further than us.
Yes, it is.
And they want to hear us saying certain things. They want to see certain development in Jamaica that they are now enjoying after leaving Jamaica. And that is why they make so much sacrifice to send things back here, help the schools, put on the football thing. And I hear a man saying, we're going to look at this rabbit thing.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to end.
But it is easy to put up a rabbit pen,
It is,
and give a man a dozen rabbit.
And so let us end on that note. That is what we do on the Early Rise. That's what the bridge stands for. Thank you so much, Honourable Pearnel Charles. Thank you, Audley, Richie, LaFane, Romy, everybody on the bridge. Give way to Richie B and to the rest of the offerings of the bridge. Humbly, proudly announcing Jamaica to the world. See you tomorrow.